In April of 1872, a young woman named Laura is sitting in a ruined castle in Styria, Austria, with her father, a retired Englishman. She's lonely. She's bored. She has a governess, a few servants, and a view of a forest that goes on forever. And then, one night, a carriage crashes outside the gates. Inside is a beautiful, pale girl about Laura's age, who has been injured in the accident. Her name is Carmilla. Her mother, a mysterious woman who speaks with an accent no one can place, must continue her journey immediately, but begs that her daughter be left in Laura's care for 3 months. Laura's father, a practical man who is nevertheless utterly charmed by this strange visitor, agrees. And Laura, who has never had a friend her own age, is thrilled. That's the setup. But here's the thing you need to understand about Carmilla: it doesn't feel like a setup. It feels like a fever dream that starts with a crash and ends with a grave being opened. This is not a story about a monster who lurks in the dark. It's a story about a monster who sleeps in the next room, who braids your hair at night, who whispers that she loves you. And that proximity is precisely why it still works. Le Fanu published this in 1872, which is 26 years before Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's a fact you'll hear everywhere, but let me give you the one that matters more. Carmilla is a story told by the victim, not the hunter. Laura is not a brave hero. She's a girl who is sick, who is weak, who is slowly being drained, and she doesn't even realize it until it's almost too late. Stoker's novel is about a group of men trying to save a woman. Le Fanu's is about a woman trying to understand why she feels so tired, so strange, so drawn to the girl in the next room. That's the difference between a lecture and a nightmare. And Le Fanu gives you the nightmare. Let me walk you through the early days of the visit, because this is where Le Fanu does his most insidious work. Carmilla doesn't arrive with fangs dripping. She arrives as a convalescent. She's weak, she's grateful, she's polite. And she's obsessed with Laura. Not in a creepy, overt way at first. She just watches her. She sits too close. She strokes Laura's hand when she speaks. She asks about Laura's dreams, her fears, her childhood. And Laura, who is starved for affection, drinks it all in. There's a scene, and I want you to remember this, where Carmilla is looking at a portrait in the gallery. It's a painting of a woman named Mircalla, Countess Karnstein, from the 17th century. Laura points it out as a distant ancestor. And Carmilla looks at the painting, then looks at Laura, and says, "You are very like your ancestor." And then she says, "I am descended from the Karnsteins, too." Now, if you're reading this as a modern reader, you're already screaming. But Laura doesn't see it. She just thinks Carmilla is being poetic. That's the trap. That's the whole trap. Le Fanu doesn't give you a monster who announces herself. He gives you a monster who says, "I am like you," and you want to believe her. And what does Carmilla do to Laura? She doesn't bite her neck in a dramatic scene. She comes to her at night. Laura wakes up, feeling a weight on her chest. Something is lying on her, pinning her down, and she feels a sharp sting on her breast, right over her heart. She can't move. She can't scream. She just lies there, paralyzed, while this thing drinks from her. And when she wakes in the morning, she feels fine. Tired, yes. A little pale. But fine. She tells herself it was a dream. And Carmilla, who is already awake, who is already dressed, who is sitting by the window looking healthier than ever, asks Laura if she slept well. And Laura says yes. Because what else do you say? This is the genius of Carmilla. It's not about the attack. It's about the aftermath. Laura doesn't know she's a victim. She thinks she's having bad dreams. She thinks she's falling in love. She thinks the strange feeling she has for Carmilla, the mix of terror and longing, the way her heart races when Carmilla enters the room, the way she feels like she's suffocating when Carmilla touches her, are just the normal confusion of a young woman experiencing her first intense friendship. And Le Fanu writes it so beautifully, so ambiguously, that you, the reader, start to wonder if maybe it is love. Maybe Laura is just overwhelmed by her feelings. Maybe Carmilla is just a strange, intense girl who doesn't understand boundaries. And then the children start dying. A plague sweeps through the local villages. It's called the Karnstein plague, which should be a hint, but no one puts it together. Children sicken and die. Their faces become pale, their eyes hollow. Laura's father, ever the rationalist, assumes it's a miasma, a bad air. But Laura notices something. The plague victims all have the same marks on their chests. Small, like pinpricks. 2 of them, close together. And she has the same marks. She doesn't tell her father. She's too ashamed. Because she knows, on some level, that the marks are connected to the dreams. And the dreams are connected to Carmilla. The turning point, and this is the moment that kills me every time, comes when Laura finally confronts Carmilla. Not with anger, but with fear. She asks Carmilla, point blank, "Are you a vampire?" And Carmilla doesn't deny it. She doesn't laugh it off. She gives Laura this long, slow smile, and she says, "I don't know what you mean, my darling. I only know that I love you." And then she says something that is the most terrifying line in the entire book. She says, "You will come to me. You will never leave me. I will keep you with me always." That's it. That's the whole horror. It's not the fangs. It's not the blood. It's the claim. Carmilla doesn't want to kill Laura. She wants to keep her. She wants to turn her into the same kind of creature she is, a beautiful, lonely, eternal thing that needs blood to survive. She wants Laura to be her companion for eternity. And Laura, who is weak, who is sick, who is slowly losing her life, is starting to believe her. Here's where I have to step back and tell you something personal. When I first read Carmilla, I was a teenager. I expected a monster story. I got a love story that was also a horror story, and I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. That's what Le Fanu does. He writes the vampire as a seducer, not a predator. And the seduction isn't physical, it's psychological. Carmilla doesn't force Laura to do anything. She just makes Laura want to be near her. She makes Laura crave the touch, the attention, the intimacy. And then she feeds on that craving. She feeds on the wanting. This is why the book still disturbs people. It's not the blood. It's the consent. Laura is a victim, but she doesn't feel like one. She feels like a participant. She feels like she's choosing this, even as her body wastes away. And that's the most uncomfortable thing of all, because it's a metaphor for every toxic relationship, every addiction, every time you know something is bad for you but you can't stop yourself from going back. Carmilla is the ultimate drug. And the worst part is, she's also the cure. She's the only thing that makes Laura feel alive. And she's the only thing that's killing her. The ending, and I won't spoil it entirely, but I'll give you the shape, is brutal. Laura's father finally calls in a vampire hunter. A man named General Spielsdorf. And the general tells a story that mirrors Laura's almost exactly. His niece, Bertha, was also visited by a beautiful young woman. Also named Carmilla. Also claiming to be a distant relative. Also slowly draining her life. And the general, unlike Laura's father, believed the girl. He caught Carmilla leaving his niece's room at night, and he saw what she was. He's been hunting her ever since. The confrontation takes place in the Karnstein ruins. The family tomb. And this is where Le Fanu delivers the most Gothic scene in the entire book. They find the tomb of Mircalla, Countess Karnstein. They open the coffin. And inside, instead of a skeleton, is Carmilla. She's been dead for over 100 years, and she looks like she's sleeping. She looks like she's been waiting for them. And when they drive the stake through her heart, she lets out a shriek that Laura says she will hear for the rest of her life. But here's the thing. And this is the part that stays with me. The novel doesn't end with Carmilla's death. It ends with Laura. She's alive. She's free. She's recovering. And she's alone. And she tells the reader, in the final pages, that even now, years later, she still dreams of Carmilla. She still feels the touch. She still hears the voice. She says, I have seen the vampire again, in my dreams. And I know that she will come back to me. That's the haunting thought I want to leave you with. Carmilla is not defeated. She's just postponed. She's a creature of patience, of eternity. She can wait 100 years. She can wait 200 years. She'll wait as long as it takes for Laura, or someone like Laura, to be lonely enough to let her in. Le Fanu wrote this in 1872. A time when women were supposed to be innocent, passionless, protected. And he wrote a story about a woman who is neither innocent nor passionless, who is drawn to darkness and who, at the end, is not entirely sure she wants to be saved. That's transgressive. That's dangerous. And that's why it still holds power. So when you close the book, when you turn off the lights, when you lie in bed and feel that strange, familiar weight on your chest, don't assume it's a dream. Don't assume it's nothing. Because Carmilla is still out there. She's always out there. And she is very, very patient.